If I may have your attention, please, it's now 6:02. At this time, would you please mute your phones? Welcome to a special meeting of the City Council, City of Pearsall, Texas. It will be held today, Monday, August 26th, 2019 at 6 p.m. Now 6:02 at Pearsall City Hall, 215 South Ash Street, here in Pearsall. May I have a roll call, please?
Mary Moore, Julian Hernandez,
Present.
Richard Ganda, Sonia Hernandez, here. Brenda Trevino, Robert Colorado,
Here.
Roland Segovia,
Here.
Davina Rodriguez, here.
Okay, we do have a quorum, so stand for the invocation. Mr. Ritchie. Mr. Frost, lead us in prayer.
Mighty God, in Jesus' name, thank you, Father, for all your wonderful blessings bestowed upon the city of Pearsall. Thank you for its citizens, and thank you for our city council. And we pray at this moment, Lord God, for a blessing upon this council members, Lord, through guidance and understanding, Father. I pray in Jesus' name that you will just be with them and, Lord, be able to deal and take care of the business at hand, Lord God. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the record, Mayor Morris here at 6:04.
So 4A, new business. Alrighty. Good evening, everyone. 4A, new business. Discuss and consider authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Leal and Carter LLC to conduct a forensic audit for the Filipino Park project. This is an action item. Need to entertain a motion to discuss, please.
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Discussion may proceed.
Mayor and Council, good evening. I won't stand unless you guys need me to, but I wanted to discuss a couple of things as far as the audit before I introduce the team from John and Carter. If you guys have any questions as far as what's going to take place here, but you do see in your packet the engagement letter that's been provided by Leal and Carter. They have, I think it's a 2-page engagement letter. We've discussed a couple of things in reference to the audit. I have, and wanted to make sure we clarified. If the council has any questions related to the engagement letter, feel free to ask questions. We also have the fee amount. I think the newspaper, I don't know, hopefully they misquoted, but the estimated amount we have budgeted, or not budgeted, that we have for this audit is between $13,000 to $17,000. It's, I think they quoted a $50,000, which is not accurate. But nonetheless, that's the estimated amount. And again, the agreed upon procedures, which is probably the more important part of this. It's all important, but the more important part is the procedures that they're going to utilize. And if the council wants to ask questions related to that, on item 1 there, you'll see it says we'll review all disbursements aggregating up to $15,000 and over the same vendor with respect to the Pueblo Platino Park project. And the reason for that amount is I think the policy reads, the procurement policy reads that anything over $15,000 gets brought to the city council for approval. That's according to, I think there was a resolution that was passed in 2017 that references procurement and what amounts need to be brought to the city council for approval. So again, that's number one there. They'll review all the contracts awarded for the project for compliance with the purchasing policy. And then number three, in the council, just to make sure, and I want to make sure they clarify this as well, it says with respect to disbursement selected for testing. So make sure that you understand that they'll be testing some of these items that are in number three of the agreed upon terms. So again, those are accounting terms they may want to discuss with y'all as far as that goes. But that's the extent of the agreed upon schedule and terms. And again, if the council has any questions, they're here to answer.
Anyone have any questions?
When you are planning to start this audit, and how long do y'all think it's going to take to complete?
We'll start as soon as the information's ready. I mean, we can start next week if you want. And as far as timing, I mean, we should be here about a week's time or so, as far as physically on site.
And we all be looking also at the conflict of interest, the nepotism, and
The
the,
right questionnaire is right. We're going to look also for your responses on it.
Mayor and council, just assuming this moves forward, we will be handing out questionnaires and they'll be added. I know that I've already handed a sample out. You'll be given instructions to return those to a mailing address. Again, it'll all be something that they'll organize. But you'll be given those at the end of this meeting, and they'll be given to, just so we're clear, it'll be given to all council members. And I have a meeting tomorrow with the staff, but it'll also be given to all of the staff that's in our city charter, which as far as it's everybody. So it's the seven titles, and I think the city manager also went out, and so that's who will be given to.
Any other questions? If not, we need to make a motion to address 4A, please.
I'd like to make a motion. To go ahead and authorize the city manager to enter the agreement with Leal and Carter to conduct the forensic audit.
Motion on the table, may I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor, by show of hands? Motion carries unanimously. All righty, item 4B, discussion regarding council conduct for doing city council meetings. This is just a discussion, so be careful.
See?
It's odd.
Yes, that's,
Okay, we had done this workshop at the beginning of right after you guys won, this was like May, end of May. But I'm bringing it back to the table per request of course, the Mayor Pro Tem, and I agree as well, that we need to reintroduce and go over this again because I'm getting many complaints about decorum, which is order and the way things were versus how they are now. So we're going to basically go over our vision, role of the city council goals, rules of engagement, and city council strategies. Again, we're going to go over this because we are a team and we want to present like that and not have behavior that is not such of a council member. So this is what this is all about, and if you want to add or take away, we can do it at the next agenda meeting. We can't do that tonight, but we really need to revisit who we are as councilmen, the professionalism that is lacking within the city council. So if you want to start, like you did the last time, you kind of conducted and I interjected.
Well, I think what the item on the agenda calls for is decorum during council meetings. Now, if it's calling for council conduct otherwise, then we did engage in we did enlist in the rules of engagement a couple of years ago, and that is listed under our role of city council and city council goals, and then rules of engagement. Basically, what we want to do 2 years ago is establish some type of guidelines for us to be able to conduct business with our citizenry and our staffs and ourselves as council members. And so we came up with a vision for our city, which is still active vision. And basically, we also came up with roles of the city council. And in that, it basically describes some of the ways that we will try to conduct ourselves or things that we should get accomplished. But one of the things that stands out there is number 2, promote open and honest communication with our citizens to foster a fully informed, engaged citizenry.
For the record, Councilwoman Trevino arrival is 6:13.
So we are trying to live by this, and this is where I think we all need to just understand as council members, we need to make a real concerted effort to be honest and open with our communication when we go out in public and when we speak, or when we have citizens come up to us, or even staff come up to us and talk to us about certain things that may be going on at the city. Be transparent in conducting city business, and that is one thing that we should all believe in. Transparency is a key to success. Basically, we need to be transparent at all times. Another one is to lead by example. Number 5, we have to lead our staffs, our management and staff by example. We cannot, in my opinion, we cannot sit up here and really dictate to anyone what happened, what should happen at the city level, at the management level, and so forth. We need to respect their work as well. Promote the city of Pearsall. I feel that if we act accordingly, we will be promoting our city as best as possible. The goals that might fit under there, pretty much number 7 is to promote a positive image for the city of Pearsall. We went through a time period where the city of Pearsall was constantly in the news and such. Well, and we don't want to blame anyone for any of that. We just want to say, hey, let's work together so that we can move forward and try to minimize on any of that, because we are a city and we do have to live here together, so we are affected by everything that's out there. But what pertains to us as a council is the rules of engagement in terms of how we'll behave or conduct business out in the community and here as well. And at all times in all interactions, the city council will work to find common ground in the best interest of the citizens and stakeholders. We have to find common ground. It hasn't been quite that way sometimes during our first few council meetings since the last couple of months. So we have to, while executing our duties, we have to be respectful of different ideas and opinions in other people's time. We won't agree on everything, but we do have to respect decisions. Once a decision is made, we respect it and move on, and so forth. We have to be thoughtful, listen thoroughly, and evaluate on merit. Leave politics out of it all, because we do represent the constituency, the citizens of Pearsall. We need to be professional, and that means punctual, focused, present, and prepared. I don't want to sound like I'm preaching or anything, but we, in my opinion, I should have been better prepared for these budget hearings. I wasn't as prepared as I would have liked to have been. But, you know, we do have our own lives and so forth, but I think we do need to come to these meetings prepared as well. And this is very important, supportive of each other, our city, our decisions, and supportive of our staff. There's no reason for us to sit up here and try to say things pertaining to individual members of the staff by name, mentioning people by name and such. I think we need to respect that. We need to be supportive. It's an all-in endeavor here. It's not city council versus the staff. It's not anything like that. We have to be supportive. We need to be efficient with our resources, our time, and the time of others. Stay on task when we're up here. Let's get things done. Let's listen and be informed. And the last one, honest, ethical, and moral in all interactions, communications. We do need to keep that in the back of our minds, that we do have to be honest, ethical, and moral with everything that we do. So some of the strategies we invoked were to improve on communications, enhance quality of life of our stakeholders. We're not going to do that if we do not work together as a council. Improve customer service, okay, that is on there as well. Increase the sense of community. I think that is very important. We do have to act as a community. I think over time we have been fractured at times, and it's hard to become one community. Other things that are on here, seek community input for improvement. We've tried to do that, but I think we need to do more of that. We do need to listen to our constituency, and then develop policies in the best interest of all residents. And that is the key role of the city council, is to develop policies. It is not to manage the city staff. It is not to manage anyone else. We are not to go out there and try to find out what's going on within departments and such. I honestly believe that is what management is for. They're conducting their business. Once we step over that line, then we are, in essence, violating basically our charter, because our charter does state that we should not interfere. We should not interfere with city management as far as approving, hiring, dismissing the staff, or anything like that. So all in all, though, that pertains to the council, as we should engage as a council. I know that on the agenda it says decorum during council meetings. We have not, as a council, established rules for decorum in terms of having written rules. We do have some verbal understandings of how we should behave here on the council, and basically follow the Robert's Rules of Order. And I think it's very important that we all understand that it needs to, our meetings, in order to be productive and not waste any time with our meetings, we do need to stay on task and try to be as supportive of each other as possible. And I think it's time that we stop pointing to each other in terms of things that have happened in the past. I honestly believe that we cannot rectify the past. We have to learn from the past, and we have to move forward, try to make better decisions. If we have made decisions that are not in the best interest of the community, it's now time to do that. One of the things that is in Section 3 of the Charter, under 3.15, under Council Rules, says the City Council shall determine its rules and order of business and keep minutes of its proceedings. It shall have the power to compel the attendance of absent members. And we have exercised that at times. The City Council, by a vote of not less than 4 members, may expel a member from a council meeting for disorderly conduct or the violation of its rules. So we want this perfectly understood, because we do need to proceed in a professional manner. Okay, and the mayor and each member of the City Council shall be personal responsible for becoming familiar with the city's affairs as soon as after their election to office in order to be able to carry out their duties and obligations as mayor or city council member. At this time, I don't think we have anything in writing per se, but I think it's important that we start establishing something in writing that is going to outline how we should behave, the council meeting, how we should proceed so that there is minimal interference and there's more understanding of how we can work together. That's all I have to say.
Well, basically with decorum, it is my job to keep order. And if you were to, I think most of you guys, they went over the Robert Rules of Orders in your newly elected meetings somewhat. We don't go into details, but basically to keep order, you raise your hand basically if you want to be acknowledged, you say what you have to say. And then if you want to speak again, raise your hand, because if not, you're just going to continue to talk over each other. And when you talk over someone, it's telling that person what they have to say is not important. And I think everything that each of us say is important to us and to the ones that are listening as well. So that's the main thing that I see in our meetings, that we're yelling out to our constituents out here without raising your hand to acknowledge. First of all, that is not our role. Our role is to, if we have a problem with an employee, we go to the city manager and he addresses that issue. So we have to get back to where we were and be professionals and present as professionals. So that's why that's the only thing I really have to say about decorum. But I think we all have handouts for Robert Rules of Order. Do you guys pass any of those out? If not, we can probably purchase them. They're like $11, a little handbook, and give each one so they'll know about decorum and the other rules that conducted in a meeting. Because like Julian said, we're working together, and when we're arguing back and forth, it makes all of us look bad, and I don't like that. And I'm quite sure to be disrespected like some of the council members have been, they don't like it as well. So that's why at this time we're discussing, again, the city of Pearsall, our vision, our rule of the city council goal, rule of engagement. So hopefully we can take it from today and move forward in a professional manner.
I think one of the things also that we may need to understand as well is that we're not always going to agree on things as a council, and there may be some times when we have that you may have as a council member a personal interest in particular departments or whatever, depending on what you hear and so forth. But we have to remind ourselves that city management and staff are doing their best to execute our policies. And if we have any problems with any of that, it should be, first of all, in my opinion, related to city management outside the meetings. Now, I don't want us to use these meetings to attack anyone in particular and to make sure that we do not verbally reprimand anyone here in front of the public as well.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to when I have talked to department heads in front of everybody here, talked to the financial advisor in our budget workshop. In our budget workshop, we need to know the difference. The budget workshop, I can talk to finance director, I can talk to city clerk, I can talk to department heads and ask them what they want, what they need, or what I see wrong with the budget. I don't have to go to the city manager when I'm having these discussions. Last meeting, it was a little heated because the numbers didn't match. Questions weren't being answered 3 or 4 times. Those are the things that we are voted here by the people. The questions that I ask every time we have a city council meeting are questions that people have brought to my attention. I am here to be the voice of the people, And it's not to be rude. I know I don't need that $11 book, so for the record, don't order me one. I know that we go to the city manager if we have an issue with an employee, but our job is to make sure we protect taxpayers' dollars. And our job is to, in the charter, we can inquire on an individual, on a department, through the city manager. That is not breaking the chains. I had somebody here that took me to court that said I was in violation for that at one time, and I was found innocent, because you can go to the city manager and inquire about an employee. We all have different agendas. The councils do not work as a team. We work together to get what we want. We all have personal agendas on here. Not meaning personal where it affects me, but what the people of Pearsall want. If I'm here to fight for the tax dollars. I'm here to protect the tax dollar money. People that I know pay lots of taxes per year. And those people come to me and say, protect my dollars, and don't just throw them away. He's there for the elderly. I'm sure all of y'all have y'all's own agenda why you're here. Okay? And that is what I do here. That is what I'm not fighting, and I'm here to agree to disagree. And there's nothing wrong with disagreeing. I will disagree the whole time if that's not what I believe in. If that's not what the people that voted me here, they voted me back. I was in the news media. People here that sit on the council was calling the news daily on me. And I did some things that were not right. Because I was young, I was fresh, I was 2 years into it, and I thought it was right. Just like we voted on some things last year because the city manager said it was the right thing to do. But that's not here or there. And I know what I've done and what I've cost, but I'm here again, and the people have given me another chance, and I'm gonna do what they want me to do. And I'm not gonna keep quiet, and if I can agree with half of the council, I'm gonna agree, if that's in my cards. But if it's not in my cards, and it's not what I believe, and it's not what I fight for, I'm gonna have to disagree.
Mayor. And I agree with you. I mean, we're here because we're elected to represent the general community. And we're here as stewards of our resources as well. And we're all in this for that. But we're here as policymakers, and where I see as a problem is when any one of us on the council sees it fit to go out into the staff ranks and start asking questions about things that pertain to personnel and such. I don't think that is our job. It's in the charter. It's a violation of the charter, and that's what we need to be careful with, that we do not overstep our bounds and let management do what they need to do with the staff.
And I agree. And that is something that I don't do. I'm not out there, and I'm speaking for myself, but I want to be on record because we're talking about this. If the only time that we go is I go to the city manager, but the times that we're talking to these in public right now is budget workshops. And I can ask as many questions as I want. And I can ask the finance director, I can ask the city clerk, I can ask the department heads. That's our job, that's a budget workshop. And we made it comments last meeting that, we didn't really go that route. But that's the route, that's what budgets are, to question. Is it gonna work, is it not gonna work? Our numbers didn't match last meeting, and it was obvious. And questions weren't being answered. That's what we were doing, asking the questions. Because how are we gonna vote on something if we don't have the answer?
Any other comments?
What I have to say is that, talking about what Councilman Hernandez said about honesty, ethical, and moral, that's a big joke, and I'll tell you why. Council members currently on the city council have violated a lot of these moral, ethical, and honest issues. Okay? If the shoe fits, go ahead and wear it. The coat fits, go ahead and wear it. But at any time, did anybody here in this council in the past 4 years benefit from an event, a city event that they had, okay, with city taxpayers' money, okay? And it was a festival that the city of Pearsall had, And then that they benefit from sales of shirts, polo shirts that the city of Pearsall bought at any time. Okay, and shoe fits wear. Also, did any council members review the employee manual handbook on the known relationship? Okay, the known relationship where a senior staff member was dating an employee of the city of Pearsall. It was a known fact. There's text messages, there's pictures, there's everything out there. This council knew about it. But yet, what did this council do?
Roland,
No, ma'am.
excuse me,
No,
but
ma'am.
you're out of line because you're making these accusatory
No, ma'am.
statements
If-
without proof.
Am I saying names?
No, but you're making,
No,
you say
no,
staff
am I
members,
saying
which is.
names?
you
Well,
said council-
I find offense to that.
I find
because-
offense as
I find
well.
offense
So
to
your
that because
conversation has to stop.
If,
If you want to talk general without accusing us of knowing stuff, then you can do that. But if that conversation is going to continue, I'm gonna have to charge you.
You have to what?
Charge you with disruption of meeting and accusatory statement. So that's not going to fly here. Sorry.
I find offense to all that because we do not delve into private
We,
lives. We're here as a council to.
Okay, Mayor, let me ask you this
policy.
question. The other day, on this audit that we had, okay? We had a 3-3 vote, and Councilman Gandara did not know how to vote when he said, I don't understand the issue. You, for the record, okay, and it's on record, okay? I'm not putting words in your mouth. You told Councilman Gandara that we were asking for an audit that was already completed by TML.
yes, I
The
did
very-
say that.
Thank you very much. And you
Yes,
were wrong.
because
ma'am.
T-
And you were wrong.
Well, but
And you were
that's-
wrong. Let me tell you why.
Okay,
The
that's.
very next day, ma'am, I did an open record request. on-
TML does
on-
audit all of our records.
I did
Okay.
an open record request with TML and with the city of Pearsall to give me a copy, hard copy, okay, of the audit. My response was there was none to be found. And that was wrong. You were misleading the council.
Or maybe I'm wrong.
No, no, let me tell you no one that you're wrong, okay? Up till now, on that proposal that y'all did for TML claim, okay? Yeah, laugh at it, Mayor, laugh at
I'm
it.
not-
Yeah, on the proposal that y'all did, okay? I asked you a question, and up till now, you still have not answered it. And in the proposal that y'all wrote to TML for the claim, y'all put there that it used to be a city hall, the no neighborhood center, and that it used to be a municipal court. That's on the proposal. Up till now, Mayor, okay, you still have not come up with an answer on when that was, the city hall, and it was a municipal court. Because I can help you out. It never was. But yet, in the claim, y'all went ahead and put it. Now tell me.
Which, if there
Misleading.
was a problem, it may be misleading, I'm not sure. But
Oh.
TML also said it didn't matter to them what was in the building prior to. They were just concerned about what we presented. So I'm not sure why you're making that an issue still.
Because it was wrong, Mayor. It was wrong. It was wrong to put in a proposal.
Let's move on.
Because you don't want to hear it, Mayor?
No, it's because TML has made it clear.
But
Why
TML is
not?
only going to go with
I
what y'all told
think,
me.
I think if I may, I think the essence of what we were just talking about has just been violated again.
Yes.
I do not appreciate these types of comments. They're attacks, and we should refrain from them. They have no
Merits.
merits in terms of, we don't know what kind of proof there is or whatever it is that you're trying to prove here. But the fact of the matter is, all I'm calling for is a little bit more civility during our meetings. That is it.
If there's no more comments or interjection,
I would like to make sure that we establish rules for decorum in writing if it's possible.
Bobby, is that something on your end? I don't know as far as rules of decorum, could you help us out with that, I guess?
I'll be happy to, and you folks, of course, by majority vote of the council, can always determine, and the charter, as you indicated, the charter says you can determine the rules by which you are going to operate on the site. Of course, the council develops a consensus as to what those rules, should be. We'll be happy to help you with this in writing so that you can put it to a vote. Whether it's to change what you have or
Well,
come up with
I
something.
think we maybe need to be drafted something that might fit us, and then we can review and then maybe go ahead and vote on it.
Okay. Sure. And I'm looking at the agenda items, so certainly,
You can submit it.
you can certainly take action tonight consistent with that request if the council.
Is that an action item? Just discuss. Is that an action item?
It's just discussion, it's a discussion.
You know what, you're right, and I apologize. I was looking at the agenda, it's not an action item, so it would be something to bring up at a future meeting. Thank you for pointing that out, Mr. Silva.
Thank you.
Crystal, okay. So any more questions, interjections, comments? Alrighty, if not, we'll move on to item 5, executive session in accordance with Texas Government Chapter Code 501, Subchapter D, 551.071, 501.074, A, legal consultation with city attorney regarding police arrest, procedure, and detention. Item B, discussion regarding employment of the city manager. And need to entertain a motion to go into executive session, please.
Motion. Second.
All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. And item 39. No action taken in an executive session. Need to entertain a motion to return to executive session, please.
Motion to return.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? The time is 7:51. Alrighty, item 6A and B, open session, no action taken. So at this time, we need to entertain a motion to enter into budget workshop, please.
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Budget workshop may begin.
Mayor and Council, again, what you see before you is the revised numbers for this year's budget. There are some changes, and instead of, I don't have a presentation today, but instead of going over presentations, I figured we can go by item and address some of the things that the council had concerns about. If you turn to page 5 of your workbook, under personnel. You'll see that there's a increase there on salaries and wages professional. That's one of the increases to that particular division there, that little personnel, I guess. So what you'll see is I'm going to point out the significant increases. That is, again, we everything from the Main Street program shuffled to, as far as the budget, shuffled over to that line item. So again, we're looking for 2 positions to fill. And again, those are going to be more along the lines of development. I know that the titles may, we're looking for, just to let the council know, a planner. That's kind of what I had in mind for the position. And then there needs to be, we still need help with a building specialist, somebody that understands to some extent things about structures and some permitting. So those are the 2 positions that I'm looking for to fill. And I know that I've expressed to the council, there are some challenges there. Again, to my knowledge, there hasn't been an updated comprehensive plan in several years. So that's what I'm looking for. I think we may have a staff member or 2 that may be able to help us with that, with those 2 positions. I'll say this: you do have people that have degrees. I was surprised to find out that I was one person at City Hall. I had no idea I had a degree, and she has one. So I was really impressed that there are some people that could probably fill those roles. We'll still open up the position to qualified applicants. Anyway, I still have to come up with a job description. So those will be coming to the council as well. At least the job descriptions, that way the council can review those job descriptions. On the stipends, those are things that were, stipends that we increased for the heavy equipment operators. There's some things there that we put in place. I think it's the heavy equipment operators, the, oh, yes, the licenses, sorry, yeah, there was a water licenses, Class A, B, and C for water and sewer. So those are all the things that were budgeted under the stipends there. And then the bigger chunk is this, the $60,000 severance. I think we included that in the budget. I think by statute that has to be included. I think I spoke to the city attorney on that. So that was added back to the budget. There was an increase also to services at the very bottom there. I think city attorney's agreement, there's a $5,000 increase there. That wasn't in the last budget that you were given, and then the other one is some additional dollars there for travel. And again, I'm pointing out the bigger expenses that went up on the general fund administration. Is there any questions on any of these increases?
I don't have, Mayor?
Yes.
I don't have a question on these numbers, but on the severance, does that mean we do need to update that contract?
Sorry?
On the severance, we will have to update the contract.
No, not the contract.
No.
It's just we had taken.
No, this, we took half from this fund and then half from utilities. So it's for the entire
Okay,
amount.
but your contract with the city, does it state severance pay?
Yes,
Okay.
it does.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So is that why we have a severance package in there, because it's in contract?
Yes. There's a severance agreement. But
So it has to be budgeted for that?
It's actually a constitutional provision. If you're going to have severance and there's the potential you may have to pay it, it has to be budgeted to make it available. Now, you just have to make sure that within the context, the reason why it needs to be budgeted, let's say you have a severance provision for your city manager that needs to get paid, yet you go out and employ another. If you only budgeted to pay one city manager a set amount for that year, you haven't budgeted for the severance and the new city manager. So when you enter into the contract for a one-year severance payment like you did, then you have to budget for that. And it's a constitutional provision, not a statutory. Just in the event that it happens and you got to pay it, then the money has been budgeted and allocated. Otherwise, you have a shortfall when you cut that check.
that was the reason, again, that was the addition to that. You'll see the other piece in the utilities, I believe, as far as the severance. You have on page 9, we've done this before, I believe, in that you can, one of the things we did is we deducted the salary of the finance director, and we use hotel occupancy, or at least the hotel occupancy to pay a portion. I think it's comes out to 20% of that. And some of the reason for that is because she does still have to account for the accounting and finance of the hotel occupancy tax. That's the very top of page 9. And there's on page 12. I believe we already did this. We're not going to purchase a maintainer this year, and it's late in the year. So I think he had a $50,000 budgeted amount for a maintainer for the first payment. Because we're not buying it this year, we don't get charged until after the first year we purchase it. So we remove that from the budget, and that saved some dollars. So we remove that amount. We still want to move forward again and buy a maintainer next fiscal year as early as possible. On page 13, there was a slight decrease to to, and I think this is gonna be adjusted, I think we talked about this, the salaries and wage scales, for the police department, that is gonna stay at the 810,000. I think we had it at 806. There's not gonna be a decrease there. We're gonna have to increase that number by, to where it was at initially, or the last budget meeting. It was, again, I don't know on that end what the decrease for, but it's gonna go up to 810,000 that you had last budget meeting. So just wanted to make sure that that was clarified.
Sir, did you ever get with the chief on that, the stipend, that program that they had?
Yes, and I think on that, we added that into the budget. That was included into the
Okay,
budget.
it's all the, for the police department.
Yes, those
The one that
were,
Councilman Gondeta and myself had asked for.
yes, it was a master and intermediate and those two, right? So those were all plugged into the budget to pay those out for those. On page 15 of the budget, under municipal court, under salaries part-time, we added that position back into the budget, so that was an increase of $21,000 for that. Under page 16.
Yeah. Right now that you're in municipal court, are we gonna come back and try to amend the budget on the possible full-time municipal court, or, are we gonna do that?
We could entertain bringing that back. What I'd like to do is get with the chief to see some of the discussion we had, to see how that's gonna work as far as who's gonna magistrate. Is that what we're talking about, the magistrate? Yeah, to see how many, my hope is that the part-time judge can magistrate those people.
Bobby said that it didn't matter because that we're responsible for that program.
As it relates to, I mean, we should magistrate obviously as soon as possible and of course within the legal requirement, but I mean, for the purposes as was discussed earlier, it's not necessary.
Oh, you're right.
Remember that?
I'm sorry?
No, I don't think it's necessary. It's not. I think we talked about it not being necessary. You're right. I'm wrong.
Okay.
Under Parks and Recreation, page 16, you have the biggest decrease there, or the decrease there you'll have is the very bottom there. That's number 408. There was a decrease of $18,500 on that those streets and roadways. I think that was a project, from what I gathered, that they were trying to do the work on the pavement along the complex there.
Yeah.
And that project, I think, was budgeted this year, and it was budgeted last year, and it hasn't gotten done. So that was removed from the budget this year.
Mayor, I think we also talked about paving that parking lot because it presents a safety issue. There's no striping and so forth, and kids are moving everywhere when cars are moving as well. So that may be something we may want to revisit.
You're talking there at the sports complex.
I think
Sports complex, yes.
Wasn't it already placed on the agenda for it at one time?
We had placed it on the agenda and so forth, but I don't know where it went.
There was no action
It was
taken. Yeah. We can revisit it. Yeah.
I think there was some questions also with the CDBG. Those numbers were also adjusted on your CDBG item. I think there was adjustments there, so I think there's nothing, really it's a wash as far as CDBG funding goes. There's not much to report there, but we did make adjustments. You want to touch on the adjustments that you made for that?
Simply based on what we've done in the past, if you go to page 2, we will receive the grant proceeds of $275,000 for the grant. So that's inputted. Of course, we only get a portion, so depending on what we receive, we'll expend. On page 3, for the capital, the grant expenses, I put $194,750. That's what we expended this year. Same for the grant expenses of the subcontractor, $50,000, and the grant expenses for the grant writing, $30,200. So as soon as we get invoiced and move along, we receive reimbursement and we go ahead and extend it out. So it's a clean wash. So they'll accept it right
On the fire fund, Mayor and Council, there were some changes to that. And I think it was in part due to a fire, for payment for a fire truck of $25,000 you saw in your last budget. But that, speaking to the fire chief, I don't think that's they want to do that this year. So what you see is under if you look at supplies there on your items there, 205, you have increases to gas, lubricants, and antifreeze, tires, tubes, and batteries. And then you have equipment under $5,000. So you have an increase of about $5,000 to those items that you didn't have at your last budget meeting. And then under maintenance, you have an increase of $5,000 under 401, which is repairs maintenance on BL. I don't know what that stands for.
The building.
The building, okay, building, there you go. And repairs on machine is $1,000, and then repairs and maintenance on vehicles another $5,000. So all he did in all, and then under capital, there's a $9,000 increase under machinery, tools, and equipment. So all he did was just disperse that $25,000 into these other items. I think that's what he's requesting.
Is that, that's coming out of the money that we're holding from the fire department?
No, this is money that we get yearly from ESD.
And that money that we get that we're now holding in a separate account, what's that money for?
It's it's your fire fund.
Okay,
So it is fund for your fire reserves, fund 24.
okay. That was the question.
Sir, why did you say that you moved the 25,000 from the fire department?
It's dispersed differently.
Yeah, but why?
I think the
Because
chief.
they didn't want to truck.
Yeah, they weren't gonna get the truck.
Truck payment, is that right?
Really?
The chief had went to ESP to get a brush truck, not an engine truck. And he decided that he didn't want to have another brush truck, so he had told me to go ahead and remove the 25,000 and disperse it amongst the building, the equipment and the vehicle.
This happened just recently or what?
Since the last, I don't think we had.
Right after our first budget.
Because I had spoken to him and he was hoping that he could get a fire truck because of the
For an
maintenance.
engine truck.
Because of maintenance to the,
She's talking about a push truck.
Yeah, a brush truck. So the engine truck will have the same impact. We won't pay the first year, it'll pay a few years afterwards. So he is bringing me the invoice. But this would, he's talking about an engine truck. We're talking about
The brush truck, because you already got one. You didn't want another.
so we're not gonna get him on the engine truck?
We will, once he brings in the invoices.
They've been
it takes
built
some
2
time
years
to
out.
build it. So we won't have to pay current year come back.
Is that the one that costs like 250,000?
300 and something
Yeah.
thousand?
Okay, so we're talking about something, okay. Yes, okay.
No, it's not. I forgot to mention, so to hotel motel, 101. It says director, I'm assuming that's you, right? Under hotel motel fund, which is Fund 22, under expenditures for, on page 3, you'll see that salaries is from, that should be finance director and city manager. Their salaries that are there, again, we'll have to take some of that slack up with the hotel motel, so we put some budgeted dollars there for the salaries there. That's how we broke some of that, some of our salaries up there. So it's 20% of the salaries are dedicated, coming out of the hotel motel fund for the finance director and the city manager. We still, and I just want to touch on this, just to make sure, I feel pretty confident that we're gonna hit that mark as far as revenues on the 250. It actually should probably, I'm anticipating we're gonna see more money, but we budgeted only $250,000 in revenues. I anticipate we'll probably at least hit 300,000 next year, maybe more. But again, that would be a good thing. But I think overall, I think we're doing well. I think the audits are working, to be honest with you. I think they're doing well, but we'll keep an eye on that. And if there's additional dollars, that's a good thing to help us move forward. I didn't have anything other than the remaining items, I think, were utilities, under 35. There were some additional items there. On page 3 of utilities, there were some increases to stipends. And again, that goes back to, that was a class A. That was a class A and B, C water license. Again, that's going to be something that we really need to get somebody to have the credentials, those credentials. Those are really important to the city. And again, that's water and sewer. The other increase you'll see again there, the other increase is on the severance pay. You'll see that on 117 there at the very, under personnel. And some of the finance director's salary also comes out of personnel, out of utilities. That's on page 4 at the very top. And then the item we did decrease to is on page 6. Page 6 under supplies, you have a decrease of $9,000 under equipment under $5,000. So that increased by decreased $9,000. I don't think that they've been using that fund. I gather it's not very much. Well, they budgeted $10,000, so that decreased to $1,000. And you'll see some other. The public works director's salary is there, and I believe you'll see on page 8 there, under 512, the CDBG grant match, that was deducted. That was $55,000. You want to discuss the deduction of $55,000?
So we contribute a match of $55,000, and since we're going into the new year of the CDBG, it's a 2-year grant. So the first year they reimburse us, the second year is when we provide the grant. So that's why it was removed. So we'll be including it in the following budget, 2020.
On this grant, it's not a guarantee we can get it yet, right? Because it's a competitive.
We still have to go through the process.
What's the status of that?
I haven't got with GrantWorks yet. We're still closing out this one. So once everything's closed out, then they'll move forward with the next one. I don't know what exactly the timeline is to get all that done and completed. October.
Yes.
But we've got it every 2 years. So we've been pretty good.
We need to get a hold of GrantWorks and that.
And what was the purpose of the grant?
For improvements on sewer improvements, sewer water line,
250?
275,000.
275.
So, under utilities, the last, well, I think that's pretty much it under utilities. Significant changes that we made. I think there was a decrease to travel, and that was about $5,000. But just because it's just not being used. And then the other two changes, under municipal court, the technology fund, I believe that was one of the new funds that was created. So you'll see that at the very back here. You have $2,000 for that under technology. And I believe, if I heard correctly, the municipal court judge is looking to purchase a computer for those $2,000. And then He also has a technology fund, and these are all funds that are, I guess, he captured through his fee process. I think it's a statute that he collects through technology and security. Nonetheless, he's budgeted for both, and those are all funds that he has access to as far as budgeting for that, what he needs as far as his operation. And then he also has some under court security. He has $2,000. I think he wants to move forward with training some of the PD officers to be bailiffs. So I think he's budgeted $2,000 for that. So those are the two things that were added from the last meeting. And I think that's all changes that I have. I don't know if the council still wants to see additional changes.
So do we have any money set aside, any capital improvement on water well? Possible water well? I know it's a major expense, but.
We do not. We actually, to let the council know, we had Peerless come talk to us, I think, last week. And yeah, we have the Cherry, is it the Cherry? It's a pretty significant issue where we're having.
Cherry or Pomona?
No, Cherry, it's the one.
The other one keeps going down.
This one's already done.
Yeah, the Cherry one is the biggest issue, I think, if I remember correctly.
That one's completely
That
done.
was Pomona.
I think the Cherry, if I remember correctly, and I wish Rudy was here, but I'm gonna go ahead and, the Cherry plant has been down, it was down again. There's some significant issues with the pipes. There's big, huge holes in the pipe. I won't say this, but I can't tell you the diameter, but I can tell you that it's starting to where we're having issues to where we may have to drill another well. Now, we do that, we're talking several hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I think that one has been, that well was drilled around the 1960s. So it's due for, but I think what we're going to bring the council back is give you estimates on what it would cost, one, to drill a new well, or to try to repair the one we have. The one we have, in speaking to Peerless, they're telling us that what they may do to repair it may not fix our problem. It may just put a Band-Aid on it. And so there's issues with the well, but it's been down. I think it went down, and they ran a camera down there. So yeah, there's going to be some, whatever it is, there's going to be some major expenses. Yes,
If you know how we bring you recommendations,
yes, sir.
I'll give you another one.
Okay.
Okay. See that man right there? See him right there to your left?
Yeah.
He has over 50 years of experience in water wells.
Okay.
He has his own company.
I've got a question. You say you had a hole in the casing,
Yes, sir.
and what did Peerless recommend?
They actually were going to bring this back. I told them I wanted something in writing as to what exactly they recommend. So one of the options is to drill a new well. So it's I don't know if that's the solution, to be honest with you, but it is something that's going to be costly, whatever it is, even if they make some of the repairs that they're proposing. And again, I have to go back and look to see what all they're recommending. But yes, sir. That was one of the options.
Ask them about the company in Arizona that puts in a expandable that covers those holes. And it's quite expensive, but it's not nearly as expensive as drilling a new well. All it is, if you can salvage that well for another 10, 20 years, probably well worth.
So it's expandable material. It's kind of like is it like pipe bursting type stuff? Is that?
What it is, they go in there and they have a machine that expands this, I'm trying to remember what they call it, but it's like a packer. It's an expandable packer, and it goes against the wall of the casing and seals the whole up. It is expensive, but not nearly as expensive as a brand new well.
So, yes, sir. To answer your question, the one we have on, I think on model, that one's also down.
Oh, no.
So we have two. We have two, and they're going to run a camera there. So we have one, but the Cherry one is definitely going to be.
I'm not telling you what to do, but I would highly recommend that you want a consultant.
Well, let me explain. I am in the water well business, but on these huge wells, I defer people who've done it all. I set 150 horsepower pumps, emergency pumps, 125 to do that at least 2 or 3 times a month. But what I'm saying is that every hatcher who is on Pearsall should know about this expandable factor. And of course, I know they're in the drilling business too. But I think it would do well to look into it. Depending on how bad a shape the steel casing is down the hole. If it's got a lot of bad spots in it, then I would say yes. Well, continuous problem. If it's just got one hole and the rest of it looks good when they run the camera, they run a camera in it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, they're saying that the whole, you know, the entire.
The whole casing.
Yeah, there's different, yeah, it's not just the one hole, there's more than.
If there's more than one hole, then I think probably be a good idea to drill it.
We're supposed to, nonetheless, on that end. So those are items, again, bigger items, capital improvement items, to answer the question, they're not on there. You have a lot of, again, that and then other wastewater projects that need to get done.
Mayor, I have two more questions. Did we put any money for any water or sewer extensions for the annex facilities?
Were you talking this annex building?
Yeah. No.
Oh, yes, the annexation?
Did we do any infrastructure?
There is no dollars that are set aside. So the question is going to become is either whether we want to pay some of that cash or whether we want to issue some debt for some of that. I would ask that if the council could give me some time, as we come up and give you estimates on that. I think you have an estimate on that, but you also we're going to give you an estimate on the water well, and then the other items that I know we haven't discussed, but I know that some of the staff has mentioned to me is we don't have, animal control has been an issue. I call it the Green Mile, but the animal shelter we have out there isn't much of a shelter. And there's other things that I at least bring to the council's to the table and see if there's something that council would like to fund, because there are things that we probably need to fund that again are not in this budget.
The last question. ACO, did we budget for a vehicle for?
Yes, well, it's budgeted for. Yes, that's right, one of those trucks is going to, that we're proposing the 10 we talked about. One of those trucks would go to ACO, and then what I was gonna do is offer him also the truck, the city manager truck. And that would be the second truck. So, that's the plan, is to offer him at least. Yes, I'm gonna be doing that too. So anyway, that's the plan. We're gonna offer them two trucks, so they can do their job. I think speaking to the chief, it's been pretty rough as far as some of the things that they've been asked to do. So we hope if all goes well and we're allowed to purchase the trucks, then we can get some of the things, maybe one of the chief's SUVs to use here, old SUVs, and just put it to use here for staff use. That's what we're proposing.
I don't think you've ever seen Pearsall when it rains. Okay? Hasn't rained a while, but I think there's some storms coming in. Mm-hmm. Not too far down the road. If that were to happen, you're gonna see a lot of potholes in the city of Pearsall. And that's what was happening last year. When we had those constant rain, and that's where the outcry of the citizens were. I mean, they were everywhere. So, it's just something we look at, we need to be ready for paving and patchers and contractors ready to go.
I think that's one of the things, again, with hiring the staff, and I know I've spoken to some of the street staff, is one of the things that they're saying is more manpower. I mean, I've asked them.
They'll be able to patch.
They need to get on skid steers to start cleaning some of this grass that's growing right there I guess on our what should be curbs. So you have things like that that need to get done. Herbicide, stuff like that, that just, I asked for a quick remedy as to how you could, what you could do to get rid of the grass on the concrete. And it's just kind of, well, all you gotta do is you have to spray it and basically deal with it best you can. But it is something that we do need people out there to do some of those things.
For our library books and magazines, do you think that's gonna be enough to cover expenses there? It's been, it was 25,000 last year, that's down to 15,000. It's on page 18 of the general fund budget. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough to serve this community.
Do they buy books every other year or every 3 years? Because if they just bought a bunch of new books,
I think they buy books every year.
every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks.
How many do you buy?
We buy from a vendor called Baker Taylor, and we get a 50% discount.
How many do you buy? Every 2 weeks?
Probably 70. Más o menos. It varies, you know, depending upon what's coming out. I look at all the trade magazines and bestsellers and stuff that people are requesting, and easy books and all age groups, teen, adult, nonfiction. Yeah.
What we could do, council members, we do have $3,883 that are remaining in the proposed budget. I think that we're in the positive. If we add that, that puts you at $18,000, almost $19,000. And I think the years prior, they had 17, they purchased $16,000, and in 16, 17, they purchased $21,000 in books. So that puts you, give or take, in that area. It's not quite 21,000, but it's more than the 16,000 that were purchased in 2017. So if we were to allow that budget, the 3,883 remaining to go in there, that would add that much bigger budget.
If I could, I haven't, so we get cut off in June, and we got cut off in June last year too, and I wasn't as proactive as I should have been at spending the money. I can, provided that I know that I need to spend it before June, I can spend the money. I can't
do it.
I'm not going to be clearly.
You can't do it no more. That wait till next June.
So what I'm saying is that in the past, we've been cut off like in June, and so bestsellers come out, books come out every month, and in June, July, August, September, October, you know, that 4 months right there is we're not getting any new books.
Isn't the money allocated already for those months though?
Well, are you talking like months for them to?
For the months for them to spend, I mean.
When you say cut off, I'm make sure I'm like, what are we saying?
We stop spending.
Like, we're told that there's budget freeze, like, we're told that there's, like, we shouldn't be spending any more money.
Well, on that end, we need to clarify that. As far as the spending, I don't know. I think the planning would help. I mean, if you're,
Yes.
and it's not to anybody's fault. It's just a matter of if we could say, hey, look, we're gonna buy these books and let's buy them before the end of June.
Yeah, I need
July.
to follow because see, we still have like money left in June, and we still have money left in July that, you know, I could be spending, but.
That's what I mean, it should be already allocated.
Yeah, it is, but I haven't been going by those guidelines, but I do still have money in the budget for June and for July, but, yeah, I mean, our director just says,
I don't want to answer for the budget freeze, because I don't.
And usually what we say is for certain departments, like streets and everything, utilities, we allow them to go. It's the other administrations and everything that we're kind of like, okay, hold back, so we can gauge where our revenues are, and that's where we're kind of identifying, and that's where library struggles, administration struggles, finance struggles, just with keeping in line and make sure we have a balanced budget at the end of the year. While the other ones that are more critical areas are allowed to go ahead and continue with repairs and maintenance of potholes, and, whatever the case may be. So, that is why you can see the trend from 17, 18, like you said, the 16,000, and then previous year 21,000. So just depending on where we're at, we're able to identify. We're not willing to move forward and to secure that balance.
Because I think what will happen at the end, I think, just to speak to what Joseph's saying, is if we don't have the revenues come in, you'll have a transfer, you have to transfer from your water and sewer fund to meet that budget that we didn't hit on the revenue side. So if you don't hit your revenues, then you still have all your expenditures, and then some, you'll be on the negative. So I think it's more a cautious thing, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's more.
Is that okay to add that amount to the additional?
Well, we can add that amount and whatever else we can add, but my question is, are we gonna have, are the departments gonna have an operating budget? I mean, something they can work with on 10 months at least out of the year instead of 8 months or whatever. We because we budget for all these things, yet, like I mentioned last time, only like 25% of the budget is ever used or ever accounted for. We should have some kind of fund balance, according to what I see.
Yeah. You definitely should see, if we're cutting expenditures and we don't have any other expenditures that don't pop up somewhere else, or you're not over budget in other places, then yeah, you should have a fund balance. Now, whether that happens, I would say that the biggest challenges you run into a lot of times is just your expenses that you didn't account for. I mean, surprises, or particularly when we have, like, for instance, a street project, we budget X amount of dollars for streets, and this we put a dollar in their amount, but I can't tell you that we could have say we want $400,000 or $500,000 done in streets, but we just have $350,000 of budget. Then I would say is, well, let's get a good project and let's spend $500,000 as opposed to just spending the $350,000 we have. So when we go out for bid, some of these, and there'd be some changes as far as the streets. What I'm recommending is that we pave a block or two at a time. I know that there was some discussion about intersections, and I think part of that, I guess everybody has their strategy. But I would say that when we do, and we come to the council, that some of these projects, we address them a little different as far as paving. So that'll be a different perspective, a change that you'll be seeing as far as your recommendation from the staff. I need to get with the staff to see what streets are critical. I'm sure that everybody has their idea of what critical streets are. But there needs to be some consensus that we make a recommendation. If the council wants to make changes after that, then that's y'all's prerogative. But I don't know if I answered your question, but I tried. I think
Yes. So we're adding 3,800 or so to the books and magazines.
Yes, sir. I don't know that I have anything more. Do you have anything else?
We'll entertain a motion to close the workshop. Motion. Second. On favor? Motion carries. Unanimous. I think old business. A, discussion and consider resolution of 2019-002 closing the city of Pearsall annual appropriation budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2019, and ending September 30th, we entertain a motion to table, please.
Motion to table.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Mayor and council, again, the budget, did you give me a sheet of that? Did you have a copy? Everybody should have a copy of the budget schedule, the remaining amount every month. And it defines where we are with the budget. I believe that, of course, we're here, we definitely need to get something filed, which is what we plan on doing, with the amendments that the council provided as far as the budget. So there are a couple of things that we have to hit. One is being September the 4th. We're going to have our first tax rate hearing. The second one is the tax rate hearing September the 9th. And then to set the tax rate on the 17th and adopt the budget on the 27th, excuse me. So those are the deadlines we have to meet. We'd like to file and post everything in the newspaper tomorrow, I believe. So there'll be some publication in there, and we do have to have a quorum. Now, keep in mind that there is no tax as far as the increase to the rate itself. The rate that we're proposing is higher than the effective rate, which I think the effective rate is at 85 cents. This is our proposed rate. We're proposing to stick to the same rate we had this year. So the same rate is 89 cents. And again, the effective rate is at 85 cents. So we do have to have these two tax rate hearings, which is on the 4th and the 9th. Just for the council's knowledge, every penny that the tax rate increases, give or take, it yields about $30,000. So if you increase taxes, say you want to increase taxes, I'm not suggesting that you do that, but if you increase taxes, that you increase revenues by about $30,000 per penny. So just so the council's aware, that's what we're proposing is keep the same tax rate that we had last year. Again, a lot of the revenue that you see coming in is the new annexation. Most of it is annexation that's coming right into the city, which is a good thing. Our hope is that if sales tax comes in and does better, hopefully some of the taxpayers can see some relief as far as property taxes if sales taxes get better. But not this year. I'm not proposing that this year. Just so the council knows. That's all I have as far as the meetings. Is there any questions on the meeting dates?
There's no further discussion. We can entertain a motion to address item 8A.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 2019-0802, proposing the City of Pearsall's annual appropriations budget for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2019, and ending on September 30th, 2020.
There's a motion to table.
Second.
I'm sorry, with the amendment that you just did.
With the amendment as presented.
Second.
All in favor, show of hands. Motion carries 5-1. I need to do a roll call. Okay, roll call.
Julian Hernandez,
Yes.
Sonia Hernandez,
Yes.
Brenda Trevino,
Yes.
Alejandro is not present, Robert Villarreal,
Yes.
Roland Segovia,
No.
Davina Rodriguez.
Yes.
Great. We're moving on to item 9. Motion to adjourn, please. Motion. All in favor?